start with a quick word from Mohammed Aiden.
My name is Mohammed Aiden, and I've been a member of Flight Club 502 since 2017. I am a flight instructor here at Flight Club. I've always wanted to fly airplanes since I was 9 years old. I grew up in West Louisville. The planes would always fly over our house, and I'd be playing soccer with my friends, and I just stopped, paused, and looked up every time I'd see a plane fly by. And I'm like, wait, that can't be the same airplane. But I knew since then, I was like, this is something I could see myself doing. So I put a pause to it for a couple of years because I didn't know how to go about it. And then when I turned 17, I applied to work at UPS as a package handler. And then while I was there, it was during peak season. So they were like, hey, we're out of the package handler positions. All we got left is loading up the bellies of the airplanes. So I was like, shoot, it's even better for me because now instead of just looking in the sky, I get to actually climb inside the airplane. It's the belly, it's not where I want to be, but it's better than nothing. I knew this is the closest I was going to get to being inside an airplane. So as I got comfortable with my position, a week or two went by, and I would see all the pilots doing their pre-flight and their walk around, and I was like, hey. And I just thought to myself, I'm like, why don't I go up to one of them and just ask how they did it? I met a couple pilots. That's when I ran into my mentor. His name is Mike Foster. And I was like, hey, sir, how did you get into this? How did you do this? And at the time, I thought he was going to just tell me, hey, I did it this, and I've saved every penny. He came down from his airplane, gave me his contact information, and as soon as I got off an hour later, I gave him a call, and I was like, hey, it's Mohammed Aiden, the kid you just met at the airport that was loading your plane or whatnot. I'd always talk to him about how I wanted to fly an airplane, and then that's when I still continued to work at UPS, and then everyone I ran into were like, hey, you got to meet Norm Seawright, Norm Seawright, Norm Seawright. So then finally, I got in contact with Norm Seawright, and he was like, hey, you ought to check out this place called Flight Club 502. And I was like, Flight Club 502? Okay, and then so he gave me the contact of Mrs. Laura Jones, and I gave her a call, and she said, well, why don't you come on over on Saturday? And I was like, okay. And then I didn't know what to expect, so I was like, okay, I don't know what this place is. It might be some big flight school. It might be some little place. But I got there, and everyone was right around my age group. So everyone was young, and they were determined. At the time, we had one airplane, so I volunteered every weekend. I didn't even ask, hey, can I fly? I just came and volunteered my time, and I was like, hopefully one day someone looks at me and says, hey, kid, have you went up yet? And I'm just like, hopefully someone notices me. So finally, I got my first flight, and since then, I knew it was what was for me and stuff. So after that, I just kept volunteering. I volunteered with help building the airplane, which was an RB-12 we were building at the time. And from then on, I just knew, hey, this was the place for me. And I fast forward, graduated high school, and I was just like, hey, okay, I want to continue flying. And at the time, I worked at Valvoline, changing oil. I used to cut grass and just do a lot of side hobbies, and also worked on cars on the side for friends and families. My favorite flight club memory is earlier this year when me and Iman went to Scranton, Pennsylvania to pick up our Cessna 172. And why it's my favorite memory is because during the time it was middle of winter and it was pretty cold. It was a little icy, and it was just real world flying because usually, will not go because of a certain something, but just being trusted to bring the plane back 6 hours from 6 hours and stuff. So it just kind of makes me, feel real happy about it and kind of feel important part of the team because I was trusted to go pick up our brand new airplane from Pennsylvania and bring it back to Louisville. And during the time, it was a great view because there are a couple low mountains over there covered with snow, and the place itself, the guy, he was a great guy and showed us around Scranton. Even though there wasn't much to do in Scranton, it was a fun time. It was a fun flight, and just doing that was a great experience. So that's my favorite flight club memory. The advice I'd say is, if you have a dream, no dream is too small. Don't dream too small. There's always a way. as long as you know in your heart that it's what you want. You just got to put yourself in the right place. If you know you want to become a pilot, then you got to hang around the airport. If you know you want to be a doctor, then you got to, find somebody in that field, go to the hospital, or just, ask questions and stuff, because you may never know who knows who and who can get you where. So my main thing is, if you know that's what you want to do and that's your dream, just keep chasing it. Look for the people in your right place, and they'll help guide you. And just believe in God and pray, make prayer, and that's all going to work out at the end of the day. I think it's important to step back and evaluate. The choices you make today have an effect on how tomorrow's going to go. So if you see a lot of your friends are out not making good decisions, using drugs, stay away from them, because that's pretty straightforward of where that's going to lead to, versus you want to hang around with people who have the same goals, or at least similar goals, and that want to do something with their lives, is who you want to surround yourself with, rather than people who don't see a goal or a future. Because hang out with people who are trying to do something with their lives, even if they don't have it figured out yet, at least people with goals and ambitions, so that way you guys can chase them together, rather than people who don't have a dream at all. My favorite airplane is the Boeing 747, because, when I was 9 years old and I used to live by the airport, I'd see all these other planes come in for UPS, the 767, the MD-11, the A300. But it was when, at the time, the 747 flew by, and, it caught my attention, because I was like, how is something so big able to be in the sky? So I was just like, at that point, it just made me question myself and wonder, okay, how does that work? And from then on, I knew, okay, I'm going to find out how this works. And that's kind of what made me kind of, just kind of interested me and stuff, because there's just something so big. So that's why it's my favorite airplane.
I'm a junior at North Oldham High School, and I've been interested in flying my whole life. My dad is my role model. He's the best, and he's the reason I want to make a career in aviation. My dad, Colonel Stephen Sylvester, is a retired Air Force C-17 pilot who also taught in the T-6 and loves serving our country. He currently flies for UPS, and I hope to follow in his footsteps and go to the airlines one day. I have logged almost 40 hours and can't wait to become a private pilot. We're now going to break for a quick word from two of our flight instructors, Lindsay Adams and Dwayne Johnson.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Adams. I'm a flight instructor here at Flight Club 502. I joined when I was 14 years old, and at the time, I didn't really want to fly. I was playing volleyball full-time and was player of the year. I thought that that was my future. Flying was not at the forefront of my mind. I went to college at the University of Cincinnati studying art. I gained a lot of confidence in myself, and so that gave me the courage to take a step back, find what I really wanted out of life. I had so many great people in my life. My dad, Tim Adams, who is a member and a mentor here at Flight Club 502, and he's been friends with Miss Laura Jones, and they've been trying to get me to fly for my whole life. When I was in the University of Cincinnati, I would fly for free because my dad is a captain at Southwest. And so I would fly out almost every weekend, and I was at the airport a lot. And I started looking around and envisioning myself there, and I realized I could see a future for myself in this airport, doing what my dad does, following in his footsteps. And so I centered myself, had a conversation with my parents, and decided that that would be my future. I earned my private pilot's license at an accelerated flight school in Florida. And that was really difficult for me because I really had to buckle down and focus. And in 6 weeks, I was able to achieve that goal of mine. I knew that this is now something that's very real and that I can pursue. So the world opened up and I came back to Flight Club and I started working here as a flight dispatcher and I got my AGI, Advanced Ground Instructor certificate. And I started running this program, and those beginnings were very special to me, especially my first student really stands out to me as an important memory because it was this young lady, and we both sat down, we were both nervous. And I was like, "You're my first student." And she smiled at me and she said, "Well, I guess we're learning together." And so that stands out to me as an important memory. And I'll probably always remember that because we are both learning together. And that's what Flight Club is for. It's for young people that are making new experiences and new memories for the first time and having the opportunity. So I will always appreciate Flight Club for giving me that memory. My confidence has grown even more, especially as a flight instructor. I'm now working with multiple students and being able to help them and be a mentor for them now is very, very special and important, I think. Everyone at Flight Club, like everyone here that holds a position is a mentor and we can learn from their stories and experiences. So for anyone out there that's looking to get their private pilot's license, my advice to you is to stay humble and be ready to learn because we're always students and we're always learning every step of the way. So the story doesn't end when you get your private. So I think that's very important to know that. Always work hard, be patient with yourself, and trust that you can do this and you can make it work. Just keep believing in yourself and you'll get there. My favorite airplane is the B-70 Valkyrie. I saw it at the Dayton Air Force Museum, and I believe it was the first plane that was able to go Mach 3. And I just thought it was very majestic and powerful looking. And so I really connected with it there.
My name is Dwayne Johnson, and I'm a flight instructor here at Flight Club 502. I started here back in 2016 when I was 15 years old. I got introduced to Flight Club through one of my teachers at Male High School. She actually thought that I wasn't being challenged enough in school, so she invited me out to the airport for the Project RV-12 build. And that's how I got my start here in aviation. And I was super interested whenever I started here at Flight Club 502. My dad, he works with his hands a lot. He also works at UPS, but he did a lot of stuff with his hands. So I thought that building an airplane, putting my hands on something would be super cool. So that's how I got my start. Keith Altman eventually took me flying in his personal RV-12. And I remember before the flight, I called my dad because I'm sure if I would have called my mom to ask for permission, she would have said no because she's scared of heights. But I called my dad and asked if I could go flying with him. He said, of course. And once I got done flying, I thought to myself that this is something that I think that I could do. I decided to start doing my pilot training. I got a scholarship through Flight Club 502, which helped me pay for my private pilot license. And I eventually decided that I wanted to go to EKU. I got scholarships through EKU, which covered my full tuition. And all I had to do was pay for my room and board. I had some flight fees that needed to be covered, but thankfully I have great parents. They helped me in more ways than just financially when it comes to this pilot training and my journey through aviation. I had a lot of mentors through OBAP that I was introduced through Flight Club 502, including Captain Norman Seawright and Raymond Robinson. They were great for my pilot training. And also I have to thank my first CFII, Michael Jordan, who is now an FO at UPS. He mentored me a lot through a lot of the things that I did in aviation. He was my CFII, so he was there for me during my instrument training. He's here for me now as I'm applying for regional airlines. He answers all the questions that I have for him. He was actually a great family friend of mine. My mother actually used to babysit him when he was younger, so it was great that we kind of followed along the same path, and I get to follow in his footsteps. But I did my instrument, commercial and multi-engine training at EKU, and then I was able to graduate early because I was able to get my private done here at Flight Club 502. So I graduated early from EKU and got my CFI through Midwest Corporate Air up in Bellefontaine, Ohio. And once I got done with my CFI, I came back to Flight Club, and it was like they welcomed me with open arms. It was like I was coming home, like they was expecting me to get back here at Flight Club. So I started off at Flight Club, and I'm here at Flight Club now. Flight Club motivated me when at the beginning of my aviation journey. They're motivating me as I'm an instructor. So I'm giving back to Flight Club because they gave so much to me. Yes.
I think I still have that. It was really good.
It's super hard to choose a favorite memory as a flight instructor because we see so many accomplishments that these students go through, whether it's their first solo or their first discovery flight or their first solo cross country or anything like that. But I think when a student passes a check ride, their excitement is on a whole nother level. It's insane. So my favorite memory here at Flight Club as an instructor was when I was able to pick up a student late in her training by the name of Maria Kozel. She's now a engineering student at the University of Dayton. But last summer, I was finishing her up for her training, getting her ready for a check ride. And after she passed, I remember Jermaine Bibb and I were actually at the Frankfurt airport at the time. And we drove up to her on a golf cart, honking the horn after she passed. And she was so excited. She was smiling, laughing, and dancing. It was such a cool memory to see. And I may have a video of it, but that's definitely my favorite memory as an instructor here at Flight Club.
Okay.
My biggest piece of advice for a young person in aviation is to surround themselves in aviation, to completely engulf themselves in the community. Finding mentors and leadership and people who can support you and who want to see you be successful is probably the greatest thing that you could do in your journey through aviation. The people who I see are successful are the ones who are obsessed with being here. They're always here. They're talking to other pilots or students, all of their on their phone. If they're on their phone, it's YouTube videos of aviation, or maybe it's TikTok Reels or Instagram Reels or TikTok videos, and it's all aviation. So the people who are obsessed with aviation are the ones who I see are the most successful.
My favorite airplane is
Honestly, my favorite airplane that I've flown so far is a Cessna 310. And I've only been able to fly it once, but it's probably one of my more fun flying experiences. It was nighttime IMC from here to North Carolina with a UPS pilot. It was so fast. It was so big. Something that I haven't handled at that time before just yet, but it makes me excited to fly bigger and faster aircraft.
Welcome back to our 2025 Winter Raffle. I am a sophomore at Louisville Collegiate High School, but my aviation journey started long before high school. My first experience with Flight Club was in 2019 when I was just 9 years old, and I took my very first flight lesson. I didn't fully understand why I was so drawn to the sky or aerospace, but looking back, I think it may have been a part of my lineage. My dad learned to fly in 1992, and someone who I am incredibly proud of, someone I consider truly a hero, is my grandfather. He joined the Army Air Corps and served as a B-17 pilot during World War II. In 1944, he and his crew were assigned to drop bombs over Germany. On the way to the target, his B-17 was hit and lost an engine. The aircraft became difficult to control, and his crew urged him to turn back, but he believed in completing the mission, and so he pressed on. After successfully delivering the bombs, the situation grew worse on the way home. He lost a second engine and was forced to make an emergency landing in occupied France. He and his crew were missing in action for more than a month before being captured and held as prisoners of war. My grandfather showed extraordinary courage, tenacity, and love of country. He believed deeply in human rights, and the war was very personal to him in a way I can only try and understand. I'm proud to be his granddaughter, and I hope his story inspires others in the way it inspires me. Godspeed to my grandfather, Lieutenant William Sullivan, just 21 years old at the time. His bravery continues to guide and inspire me. And now I'd like to turn to someone whose service and story also carry incredible meaning. Let's go to our conversation with veteran Brad Van Horn.
Hi, my name is Brad Van Horn. I live here in the Richmond, Virginia area. I'm a retired Navy commander and naval flight officer. Spent about 13 years in the reserves, about 9 years active duty, over 1,000 hours in the F-14, and about 160, 170 in the F-18 and a number of other aircraft. My path to aviation, probably not like most guys. Most of my colleagues and Navy buddies, they dreamed of flying from the time that they were a toddler. That really wasn't my dream. But after college, I spent a year as a legislative aide and to a member of the Virginia General Assembly. And I met so many people in the military that had a military background that I respected, that I started to think, maybe I'm missing something. All these folks are really proud of their service to the country. And I decided that I didn't want to be, my age now, looking back on my life and not being able to say that I had given something back and served the country that's been so good to me. My father had an 8th grade education. My mother had a high school education. So I don't come from money or from, college educated parents or anything else. And I was able to get a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, a law degree, and Navy wings, and fly $50 million jets off of aircraft carriers. So if that's not the American dream, then I don't know what is, to go from very humble beginnings and be able to live the blessed life that I've been able to live. So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I definitely think it's important to set goals. And a lot of people will talk about a goal and then a stretch goal, right? It's like your goal might be to do something and you think you can achieve that. It's important to also set a stretch goal. It's like, what if you do achieve that? Can you go beyond that? And you really should consider, to reach for the stars, because there's so much opportunity in this country, but you have to take advantage of it. You're probably never going to be able to do it on your own. If you think you're going to do it on your own by yourself, it's never going to happen. In my career, teachers all the way through school, in college, my master's degree, my law degree, and everything else, without them, I wouldn't have been able to achieve it. Flight school, same thing, without all my instructors. And then even once I got my Navy wings and I was in my combat squadron, I learned a lot from the more experienced guys that I was serving with. And so there's never a time where you don't need the help from someone else. And one thing I will say about being in the military, and the same is also true about law enforcement, first responders, firefighters, is that it's a completely different thing to put your life in someone's hands and have them put their life in your hands. You create a bond with a team of people that I've not seen anywhere outside of those professions. So I would advise everybody, give some thought to a couple things, to how are you going to give back to this country? Because this country has so much opportunity and else. How are you going to give back? It doesn't mean that everybody has to serve in the military. You can give back a lot of different ways. Just like a lot of your instructors, you can give back through nonprofits. You can give back in all kinds of different community service. My son was an Eagle Scout and did a lot of community service through that, through the Scouts. So there's a lot of opportunity there, and really look to be part of a team. Hopefully a cohesive team. You're not going to get along with everyone on your team like they're all your best friends. It's just not going to happen. There's something about chemistry, and there's certain people that you're going to bond with and everything else, and they'll be friends for life. I've heard it said that people come into your life either for a reason, a season, or for life, right? And it's hard to know when that person comes into your life, or certain people do, or you're part of a team, whether that's going to be for a reason for you to get your pilot's license. Maybe you'll go off and fly for the majors, and you live in another city or another country, and you lose contact with those folks. So that could be people that come in for a reason. There's also people that come in for a season, right? Maybe you're learning to fly or you're doing something else, and for a couple years, those people are very influential in your life. But then again, you go off, you have a family, you move to a different place, and they're not in your life day to day. And then there are other people that come into your life for life, and you're lifelong friends, you keep in touch and everything else. Again, it's hard to know when those people come into your life, but be open to the possibility of any of those different things. But the one thing I want to get across is that you're not going to do this on your own. And if you think that you can do it alone, you think that you don't need help from anybody, or if you're reluctant to accept someone's help, you need to get over that early on in your life and in your career, because accept the help from people who can help you, and turn around and give back, and you can do the same thing. You can help people who are less experienced than you, that are younger than you, etc. And we're kind of all in this together, so just keep that in mind. I've had that experience a number of times. It has been in emergencies. I am a follower of Jesus Christ, and I believe strongly that God has a plan for us all, and He is there, and He's always there for us if you reach out to Him. I heard an analogy one time. One of my pastors, we were having a new church built, and as it was being built, he one time in the sermon, he said, I was in here looking at in the new building, looking at the construction. I couldn't believe how many electrical outlets there were all over this building. They were everywhere. And he said, I happen to think that's kind of like God's love, is it's everywhere, but you got to plug in, just like the electrical outlets. They're everywhere, but if you don't plug in, you're not gonna receive it. So, for me, there's a saying. I have 265 landings aboard the aircraft carrier, and 110 of those are at night. And as the saying goes, there are no atheists trying to get back aboard the ship at night. It's a pretty scary thing when you are trying to get back aboard an aircraft carrier at night, with a pitching flight deck and thunderstorms, raining, you can hardly see anything, and you're trying to get back aboard this small piece of steel in the middle of the ocean. And so the saying is, there are no atheists as you're trying to get back aboard the carrier. I would just say that same thing is, keep your options open, keep your mind open to being a person of faith, keep an open mind about listening for God. There have been a number of times where I've reached out, and sometimes it was in an emergency type situation, and I just felt this calm come over me. It wasn't like I had heard a voice or anything else, but I said, God, I really need your help right now. I need to really feel your presence. And all of a sudden, I just had this calm and was better able to deal with the emergency that I was dealing with. I felt like, it's all going to be okay. This might be an extreme situation, and things are not looking real good, but I think it's going to work out. And it did each time. So I would just say, keep an open mind. And again, you've got to find your own path. That's pretty important. I've told my son that so many times. I'm like, don't follow my path. My path is mine. That's what God laid out for me. Try and figure out what God has laid out for you. I would just say that don't let anybody tell you no. Don't let anybody say, well, no, your family's not rich enough. You're not smart enough. Prove them wrong. Just take your time, work with people that love you and care about you, and just prove them wrong. With over 1,000 hours in the F-14, I'd be crazy to say it was something other than the F-14. The F-14 got me back home safely, more times than I can count, both on land and overseas, and flying over foreign countries, and it always got me back safely. So I'd have to say it's the F-14 Tomcat. Yeah, my son, I think, gained a lot from this, and I told him a couple things. Number one, everybody is going to make mistakes in their life. Everybody. You learn as much from mistakes as you do from success. but make your own mistakes. Don't let other people make them for you. If somebody tries to talk you into doing something that you don't feel comfortable doing, whether it's drinking, drugs, speeding in a car, doing something in an airplane you shouldn't, no matter what it is, you may find that there's a little voice that tells you, maybe this is not good. Or you may just know yourself that, yeah, we shouldn't be doing this, but you don't want to disappoint your friends. You don't want to feel like, want them to feel like, you're not cool or whatever. So one of my pieces of advice would be to make your own choices and make your own mistakes. Don't let other people make them for you. And kind of a saying that we have around my house that I coined, and my wife and my son both use it all the time, is that you can't make a bad choice if you're only faced with good choices, right? So the corollary to that is eliminate all the bad choices. So no matter what it is, whether you're choosing, it's like, hey, do I want to go to this party tonight? Do I want to go flying in this bad weather? Whatever you're doing, you can't make a bad decision if you're only faced with good choices. So try and eliminate all of the bad choices before you have to make a decision. And that's something that, my entire family, we kind of live by, is take a look at your options, eliminate the bad choices, and when you're only left with good choices, you can't make a bad decision.
Welcome back to Flight Club 502's Winter Raffle event. Thank you, Brad Van Horn, for your service to our country. I'm William Jones. I'm a junior at St. Xavier High School, a founding member of Flight Club 502, officer of communications here at Flight Club 502. I've soloed, and I'm working towards getting my private pilot's license. Alice, I love hearing about your grandfather. In fact, my great-grandfather also served our country during World War II as a medic. My aviation lineage comes from my mother, who's taught my whole family how to fly, including my father and my brothers, and now me. We want to invite you to share your aviation story with the kids of Flight Club 502. If you have a phone, a camera, or a family member who can record you, please share your aviation testimony and any advice you have for our members. You can send it to Alice, Peyton, and me at media@flightclub502.org. We want to hear your stories. Now we're going to go to a video with Dwayne Parker and Theron Varda, some of our founding members.
Hi, my name is Dwayne Parker, and I'm one of the founders for Flight Club 502. My daughter was one of the very first kids that got involved. Conversations with Laura Jones, walking the halls of our kids' school, initiated starting this club. Of course, Laura is a dynamo, nuclear power plant, aviation, spectacular human being, and someone that I love very much. Working with her and building this club over the years, going back to 2015, so it's been 10 years, and I've floated in and out as a board member, as a volunteer, as a teacher, as a mentor to these kids. And this is truly one of the finest organizations for kids I've ever been involved in. Working with this club, I have met people, come to know people, come to love people. It has given more back to me as a volunteer, watching this club grow from dozen, 20 kids to hundreds of kids that have come through here. The things that these young adults learn, the skill sets they develop in this club, it will stand them in good stead later on in life, going to college. I've watched kids leave here and go to military academies. I've watched kids leave here, go into engineering programs. They develop skill sets here that will help them succeed in life in ways that no one can understand if they're not been a part of it. I graduated from Texas A&M, and they always say it's a cult you can't understand unless you're a part of it. And that's really what Flight Club 502 is. Flight Club 502 is an entrance into the aviation industry that people around the country should be pouring money into. The aviation companies, individuals, anybody that's ever been impacted by the aviation industry should help this club. It puts out leaders, it puts out kids that are unbelievable. And I've watched it personally from the day we sold raffle tickets. I've watched buying the first airplane for kids to take lessons in. I've watched it grow from that into having multiple airplanes with multiple instructors, with lots of kids getting their solos, watching lots of kids get their private pilot's license. And not only have we had that, we've had kids that are working their way through that have gone from here into the aviation industry as airline pilots. There are instructors that develop their time here and help teach other kids. They give back. All these kids give back. It's just a club that I honestly and truly say I've gotten more out of this club than I've given to it. And it is a joy and has helped me grow as a human being and been an incredible part of my life. And I will probably float in and out of this and be involved with everybody here until the day I die, which I hope is a long ways away. The FAA, the aviation industry, is unbelievably safe and special. You're not just given something. There's a set of guidelines you go through, and you have these hours, you solo, then you become a private pilot, then you become an instrument pilot, then you become a multi-engine pilot, then you become a commercial pilot. All these things are goals that these kids set. And then they go on and they become perhaps a jet pilot in the military. Perhaps they become a C-130 pilot. Perhaps they become a big 747 pilot. Who knows? There's no ceiling to what happens when these kids come through Flight Club and stick with it. And that's part of the thing that I would offer to any of these kids. When you come in here, stick with it. You stick with it and you set these goals and lean on the adult volunteers. That's what they're here for. They are here because they have a desire to give back to the aviation industry, to give back to flying. And I would advise the kids, when you do that, you're not just doing yourself a favor, you're doing the adult a favor. They're here because they want you to grow. They want to help you. And you're doing them a favor by asking, where should I go to college? Should I get my instrument rating? What should I do? Stick with it. Set these goals, and there's no limit in the aviation world. One of the things that I would tell 11-year-old Dwayne, because I flew a Cessna 150 with my stepfather, an American Airlines pilot who had probably 50,000 plus hours flying time. And when he let me hold the controls, my feet wouldn't reach the pedals. If I could go back and tell that kid, get your license like these kids are doing. Flight Club has given an opportunity to kids in this area to get licenses that other kids around the country don't have. Now I'm working on my license. It's never too late. Get your time. And all of a sudden, you're developing a skill set, becomes a muscle memory and a training that you rely on that'll keep you safe. And that's what I would say. For all the kids that are here, lean into it. Take advantage of it while you're here. There's a lot of places around the country that people don't have the opportunity to fly like this. And this is here. This is for you. And that's part of the thing that I would offer to any of these kids. When you come in here, stick with it. You stick with it and you set these goals and lean on the adult volunteers. That's what they're here for. They make their livings outside of Flight Club. They are here because they have a desire to give back to the aviation industry, to give back to flying. A lot of people are giving to this club so that you have this opportunity. And I would advise you to lean in, take advantage of it. This place is beautiful. I'm sitting there, and when an airplane goes down the runway, something triggers in my brain. Every moment at Flight Club 502 is a memory. And watching these kids, they light up and they're talking about what they've succeeded at. And they went flying that day and they took the 172 up, or they went up in the diming. And every time I see one of these kids, it's a memory. And even now, I'll get a text from a kid that I taught in a finance class, and they will say what an impact I had on them. And wow, how it's like the little rock you throw in the pond or the ocean and the ripples go out. That's what we're doing here. Our ripples at Flight Club 502 go out all over the world. And that is one of the coolest memories I will ever have. Favorite airplane? Oh my goodness. I'm not sure I have a favorite. I hate to say it, a Falcon private jet with the 3 engines. It's just the coolest looking thing. And I go back to when I was in high school. There was an old TV show, Baba Black Sheep, had a F4U Corsair, big old 1,800 horsepower radial engine, and watching that show and then sitting in, the Cessna 150 with my dad. It was up in the air and you're like as free as can be. I don't know that I have a personal favorite. The Cirrus 22, how cool are they? They're slick and they fly through the air like a bullet. So how can I pick a favorite airplane? They're all my favorite. If one goes overhead, that's my favorite at that moment.
Hello, my name is Theron Varda, and I am one of the founding members of Flight Club 502. I'm one of the instructors here. Flight Club has really meant a lot to me in my life. Being able to grow up around Louisville and have something this close-knit and involved with aviation has really changed my life and how I go day to day. I pretty much spend every day at the airport, and I love spending every day at the airport.
Do you have
One of my favorite memories of Flight Club would be when we first moved into our building now. All the demolition we had to do. We had to tear up all the flooring upstairs and paint all the ceilings, and none of us really knew what we were doing, but I thought that was a lot of fun. Flight Club has definitely impacted me a lot, and it's really helped me better with decision making and with planning for my future. They really helped me mature too. I soloed in 2019 and I didn't get my license until 2021. I was kind of in a limbo of not really sure if I wanted to make aviation my career or if I wanted to pursue it as a hobby. And then one day, finally, I decided I wanted to make it my career. And what I did is I kind of kept procrastinating on my aviation career until one day I had a few people kind of talk to me and say, hey, if you really want this to be your career, then you need to focus on it. And so I kind of went all in on aviation, and I don't regret any bit of it. And that's helped me even through college too, because dedicating myself to that and having a strict regiment has really helped me. One of the biggest people for me was Captain Dean Rice. He's an Air Force training pilot, and he had a bunch of crazy stories. That man could talk forever and ever. I love Dino so much, but he could always talk, and he always had so much wisdom that he would share with me. And he really gave me some great life lessons, and really was the one that kind of kicked me into gear into getting everything finished and make me want to finish my private pilot's license, and really got me to the end of it too. Some of my earliest memories of flying were in our Blueberry and our first Cessna 150 that we bought. So in the beginning of Flight Club, all we really were was just a group of kids kind of getting together, meeting and talking about aviation and doing ground schools. Where it really picked up was someone offered us to use their private jet for a weekend to fly anywhere within a 500-mile radius. And we could sell raffle tickets to raise money for our club. And so we were each tasked, or Laura Jones tasked us with sell 10 raffle tickets for $100 a piece. And I remember going out in the cold, knocking door to door in my neighborhood, asking people if they wanted to buy a raffle ticket for $100 to go take a ride in a jet. And I got a lot of no's. But in the end, I was able to sell a little bit over 12. Each of us were able to sell more than 10 tickets. So each of us were able to raise enough money to buy our first airplane. And our first airplane was really something special. We called it Blueberry, and it was this little blue Cessna 150. One of the biggest pieces of advice that I could give to anyone going into this field, or any field in that matter, is stay persistent. And don't be afraid to ask for help and use the people around you for help. A lot of times people will try and be stubborn and do things their own way and get in their own head that they need to do something a certain way. But if you go into it with an open mind and actually ask people for help, ask people that have been in the field for many years or have a lot of experience doing some things, they can really help you out. And that'd be my biggest piece of advice. And also speaking up for yourself too. You really need to be your own advocate a lot of the times, because sometimes people aren't going to speak up for you. So you really have to be the one to speak up for yourself. And if you want something done, then ask for help and find the right people to do it. My favorite airplane, I think my favorite airplane would have to be Cessna Skymaster. I just think they look so weird but so cool. I don't know. There's something about them that I really like. Yeah.
Welcome back to the 2025 Winter Raffle event. Thanks, Mr. Parker, for all you and your family do for Flight Club. We just have a few more breaks before we draw for the winning tickets. Peyton, would you like to share your first flight lesson memory?
I don't really remember which lesson it was, but I do remember my first ever stop, which I was not happy with. It was kind of scary at that point, but now I don't mind it at all.
That's crazy. What about you, William? Any terrifying events or what your solo was like?
Luckily, I haven't had too many terrifying events in the airplane. I have soloed though, which was one of the greatest moments of my flight experience. I was being trained by my mom, which was a great experience. And I remember I had been going up to beat the sun. We'd been going up really early every day. And one day I went up and I just felt confident that day. And I guess my mom could kind of see that. And she stepped out of the airplane. And I was not expecting it, but I was confident and it was surprising. And I went up there and I sang a little song in the air. And I brought it down for a couple touch and goes, and it was amazing. Because my entire life, I've been, of course, looking at my brothers when they soloed. I cut off my brother Afton's shirt when he soloed, and it was a great experience.
Okay, let's go to an interview with Jonas Gordon and David Lauren, both members since they were teens, and now flight instructors here at Flight Club.
Hi, my name is Jonas Gordon, and I'm a flight instructor here at Flight Club 502. I've been a member of Flight Club 502 since 2019. When I joined because I had a friend in the club, and I had known my entire life basically that I'd loved airplanes, and I just never knew if becoming a pilot was something possible. I remember distinctly sometime in elementary school seeing a Guinness Book of World Records and reading that there was some kid that had flown like a solo flight across the world. I was like, wow, that's crazy. That would be crazy if I could do that too. And I remember bringing that up to my parents, and what I remember from them boils down to just that aviation was very expensive and it'd be very, very difficult to get into. But when I got older and I still had this dream of flying airplanes, I always thought it was really cool. I was always so fascinated. I found Flight Club 502 through a friend, and I joined, and it changed my life forever. I think my entire time here at Flight Club 502, I basically live here at this point. It's all amazing. I love it here so much, and I think everything that I've learned, I've grown and I've matured, and I've done so many things with Flight Club that I would have never been able to do anywhere else, and I really don't know what I would be doing if I wasn't here. This is what I want to do. This is kind of what I've set my entire life to around flying and aviating and being a pilot and helping others. also be able to do the same thing. That's the amazing thing about being a flight instructor at the place that I learned to fly. So I learned to fly here, and now that I have my flight instructor certificate, I can come back and teach the same people that are growing up just like me, having that young desire to want to fly and become a pilot, and I can pass that along, and it's really, really special. I've had so many mentors here at Flight Club 502. There are so many adult volunteers that are running around, and they range from pilots to finance managers and business owners, and they do all sorts of things to help. So I was approached by Sasha Clapp, a UPS pilot, and he was like, hey, you should come and teach this intro class, because he was kind of doing a part of it. And there were some people before me that had been teaching the intro class. And he's like, it's your turn. You're up next. I was like, I don't know about this. I said, I guess I'll have to try it out. And I think that was really that motivation that kind of just pushed me a little bit out of my comfort zone to show up and sit in front of a room full of kids that looked at me with blank stares like, what are you doing here? And why is this kid teaching me? I thought we were going to learn something today. It's like, well, I had to be the one to do that. So I stood in front of the class and I went through the slides. And I think every single time I want to say I was nervous every single time I did it, but usually after a few minutes, I got into it, kind of found my groove. And I think it also really helped me with my instructing as well, getting comfortable with teaching and talking to other people and trying to convey knowledge. That was also just really, really good at benefiting my instructing. Well, I think the biggest piece of advice is to be proactive and to make sure you do have goals. Make sure you don't have to know exactly what you want to do, but do something. Make sure that it's something that you think is worthwhile and that you enjoy. I enjoyed being here and I enjoyed learning things. I think that's just something that's a part of me. I've always loved the challenge of learning new things and trying new things. I think that's one of the reasons I'd also love aviation, because it is challenging to get into. It is not an easy thing to do. You have to work hard. You have to study a lot. You have to fly a lot. And those things don't just come easy. And so I think having that dedication and making sure you have some sort of idea, just say, hey, I think this is what I want to do, or maybe it's not what I want to do, but I'm going to give it a shot anyways. I'm going to go at it with full force. I'm going to show up, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to do my best. Right now, my goal is to make it to the airlines. That's kind of a big dream of mine. Ever since I first started out flying, I knew that I wanted to become a pilot, but I didn't know exactly how I was going to do it. Luckily, through the mentorship here at Flight Club 502, I was able to kind of get steered on the right path. He told that, yeah, this is possible. You could become an airline pilot. And so I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I've heard so many stories and I've heard a lot about what it's like. And so I've been able to kind of come up with some ideas on, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Am I wanting to become an airline pilot, a cargo pilot, passengers, big airplanes, small airplanes, what do I want to do? But I think right now, my biggest thing is I just want to progress. I want to get that new challenge. And I think flying an airliner would be amazing. The favorite airplane question is a tricky, because there are so many cool airplanes, but I think for myself, I had the privilege of going to Oshkosh this year, 2025, and I saw the F-22, and I gotta say that is pretty cool. I don't think there's much that tops that. Just the sound, the way it looks, and how it moves and how it flies. It's kind of unlike any other airplane, and I just always thought that that's kind of just one of the craziest airplanes out there.
Hi, I'm David Loring, and I've been a Flight Club member since 2018. I've been a pilot for 5 years now, and Flight Club has really helped me on my journey to achieve my aviation goals, and more than just aviation. I started out over at the other hangar, Hangar 5, not super invested at the beginning, to be honest. My dad, who has been my mentor throughout all my life, but especially in aviation, has consistently emphasized safety and enjoyment, making sure you continue to enjoy flying as you go along to maintain motivation, particularly because I wasn't very motivated at the beginning. I started learning on the Cessna 150s back when Flight Club had them with Rob, and I got all the way to solo. And I think just the more I flew, the more motivated I became. I vividly remember my first solo, getting into an airplane on my own for the first time. I think after the first touch and go, I started singing just whatever was in my head at the time. I whistled a fair bit too. I like to whistle. Really, just the more I learned about aviation, the more enamored with it I became. It really has grown on me. And I really do love a lot of the small things in aviation. There's just a lot of little habits that pilots pick up. And if you're going out with someone who really knows their stuff, they can tell you exactly why you wait to pull the power after you take off, because that's the most likely time for some kind of engine failure. You make sure that the fuel pumps are on and you leave them on for a couple of seconds when you're switching tanks, for just making sure that everything's going to be working. And there's just a million little habits like that in the air and on the ground that have been built up with such a safety mindset in aviation. And I think that's one of the aspects I love most about flying, just how safety oriented things are and how there's so much emphasis on good decision making. I think that checklists and safety procedures help me with my degree in my college life as well. I would try and bring that same level of rigor to flying. I would want to know exactly why we're doing a specific procedure. And then with flying, I would take that back to my college experience, and I would have checklists for myself. You've got to leave everything on the ground that's stressing you out behind. It doesn't matter. My dad, my biggest mentor, when he was teaching me to drive, he said when he gets in an airplane, you just got to wipe it all off and put it behind you. And I've carried that throughout driving, throughout flying, when I'm getting into the mindset for studying for school. It's useful to be able to sit down and really focus on what matters. And aviation is so powerful for that, because when you're up in the airplane, that's what matters. And carrying that mindset into other aspects of life is a really powerful tool. Being in the zone in the cockpit is a skill, and it's something you have to learn, and aviation teaches you. I remember Flight Club as always being an excellent place to come and study. The environment is social and relaxed, and it's an excellent place to just come and hang out. And I've used it as a place to come and study. When I started learning to fly, I was learning to fly in the Cessna 150 fleet. And my first solo was in T-Rex. But after I did that solo, that was the summer I graduated from high school. So then I went off to college for my first year, and I really put aviation aside for a little bit to focus on my studies. When I came back, I started learning in the Diamond 20s. And I think it was an excellent opportunity because I was learning 2 different aircraft initially. So I got a spread of different systems to learn from, going from a carbureted aircraft to an injected aircraft. I think it was formative for me as a pilot to be able to learn both those systems and to transition between those 2 aircraft. All my instructors have always been very encouraging of me. I tend to be a very harsh critic on myself in many things in life, in aviation, in mathematics, in dance. I am a perfectionist, and being a perfectionist is not a great thing when you're trying to build something. There's a point where what you have is good enough. Taking a break from something and letting your mind just work on whatever your task is in the background is an excellent thing. And my instructors, when I was a student pilot, were always able to facilitate that with me. Matthew Sutherland and Rob and Patrick O'Donoghue, Grayson, Burkhart, all these instructors, fantastic. And so I've tried to carry that forward to teaching my students, making sure to take breaks when necessary, taking a step back and looking at why we enjoy aviation is the most important step, maintaining that motivation. We fly because it's fun, it's exciting. Some of the most important flights to me, where I learned the most, were just look out the window, out to the side, and just kind of look at everything below you. It's beautiful. And I think it's really important to keep that in mind. Do fun things with flying so that you understand why you're doing it. I think that's been some of the most valuable flights to me. It's a marathon. It's not a race. It's not a sprint to the check ride. If things take time, then they take time. And looking back on it, you won't regret that you took a little bit longer to transition between two airplanes. You won't regret that you didn't fly because the weather was not the greatest. You might have been able to go up, but you just took a step back and decided not to go flying. And it pushed back your check ride, it pushed back your solo. All those little setbacks, it's okay to have those. They're valuable. And taking them and carrying them forward with you and sharing them with the people around you and being vulnerable about, you know, the mistakes you've made and the journey you've had is really valuable.
Welcome back to our 2025 raffle event. We're getting close to drawing for the raffle, so let's go to a video about Commander George Perry.
My name is George Perry. I'm one of the executive board members here at Flight Club 502. I'm 54, but I started flying when I was 15. 20 years in the Navy, flying fighters, and then got out of the Navy after a 20-year career. Worked for Cirrus Aircraft, ran their Fleet and Special Missions business division, and then went over and ran the Air Safety Institute and Foundation at AOPA for about 3 years, and then decided to get back into flying full-time and came to UPS. So I'm an airline captain at UPS Airlines, flying the 7576. I've always thought aviation was a gift, and I wanted to expose my kiddos to it. And so I heard about Flight Club just kind of around the airfield and heard that Laura was the person to see about that. And we clicked right away, and my son got involved in the RV-12 build. And I'm like, hey, I can help if you want my help. And so there we go. That was about 7-8 years ago now. We've grown beyond our wildest dreams, and to see now sort of current events with the Shawnee youth coming through our aviation program, achieving, passing their written exam, doing their solos, working towards private pilots. It's just kind of the fruition of all the things that we were working for as a club and as a contributor to give back to the community. From a personal standpoint, both my kids have been involved in Flight Club in various ways, not really flying. My son helped out with finance and budget, and that's what he's studying in college now. And my daughter helped with the day-to-day operations here, and it was a heck of a growing experience for her. Just the exposure to sort of a real-world working environment was great for her. So it's helped my family grow, but it's certainly helped the community. It's grown beyond my wildest dreams. When I got involved and sort of helped with the organizational fundraising, I thought it would grow, and I thought there would be demand from the local community and the local schools, but the level of demand has been astronomically more than I ever could have imagined. And I think we've done a couple of things to help set that up for success. Is, one, we've got this group of volunteers and youth that are just super energetic, and no one is really constrained by what it can't be. Everybody's talking about what it possibly can be. And every time we reach a new milestone, there's that innovative entrepreneurial spirit that says, okay, now let's do this. And so I don't think we've ever sort of rested on our laurels and say, we've done enough, now let's just coast. I think it's what else can we do? And that's been the spirit of this place since day one. A team, a highly functional, highly effective team is always going to be better than someone working on their own, right? If you've got a bunch of people rowing, if everybody's rowing in the right direction, that boat moves, down the river. If it's one person, yeah, the boat's moving, but they're going to get tired and there's going to be difficulties. And so that teamwork, that inclusion, the diversity of ideas sets an organization up for success every single time. And I call it friendly friction. When you've got two people and you're trying to solve a problem, there's going to be some different ideas of how do we get from here to there. And that friendly friction, if it's handled in the right way, can become extremely powerful and productive. Yeah, and so that gets back to that team mentality, is if you leverage the people around you to create that team environment, everyone's going to succeed in a more significant way. And so whether your team is a whole group of folks, or your team is you and your mentor that you can bounce ideas off or ask questions or say, hey, I've got this challenge or this problem. I was thinking about handling it this way. What do you think? And these are not difficult life lessons. If you go off half-cocked with a half-baked plan, you're probably going to get half-baked results. But if you can leverage those support systems, teams, mentors, organizations that are there to help, and get a more coherent solution, guess what? The results are probably going to be that much better. So absolutely mentorship, guidance, the two-way communications, real-world problem solving, all these things are going to be better when you work within a support structure. The person that I was most impressed with, that I learned the most from, was Jim Mattis, who was a 4-star when I worked for him. And he was incredibly inclusive, very helpful, and spent time and effort really mentoring me as a junior officer, and sort of said, hey, let me explain to you this environment you're not familiar with. Let me explain to you why things are happening the way they are, to give you that insight that I wouldn't have otherwise had. And it was amazing. I would have conversations with him, and I would come away from that like, I would have never thought of it that way, but now I understand. If I'm in that situation again, I'll be much better prepared. And that's just mentorship. And so I've had plenty of mentors along the way. Talk to your mentor, talk to your friends. I've got this dilemma. What do you think? And I think a lot of that comes just from the people and the organizations you surround yourself with, and the culture that you impart on them and that they impart on you creates a stronger, more dependable moral compass. I'd probably have to say the F-18C, because it's just a lot of fun to fly. It was a hoot. I would say whatever your passions are or your dreams are, go after it. And the most successful people don't achieve and succeed the first time. They fail and they fail and they fail, and they get back up and they try again. And that's the best advice I could give a young person, is it's okay to fail, don't give up.
Thanks, Commander Perry, and thanks for your volunteerism. It's awesome. It's been so fun being a part of Flight Club 502, and it's still growing. We're all a part of this amazing story.
And thanks to everyone who contributed to this fundraiser. We've grown so much, and we need more space. We'll be using the money to help build a new building where kids can come during the school year and learn to fly and be part of something special.
We'd like to thank all of our raffle donors. It's a lot easier raising money through something meaningful like this raffle instead of solely relying on donations. Know that your donations make an impact on our ability to share our love of aviation with future generations. And thank you, Grandpa, for buying a ticket. Remember, I am getting the plane if you win.
Let's go ahead and walk over to the old terminal, where Aman Ghali and the other members have set up the raffle event. As we walk over, here is a short video about our co-host, William Jones.
everyone, and welcome. We are so grateful to have you all here tonight. Just before we begin, I want to extend a very special thank you to our communications officers, William Jones, Payne Sylvester, and Alice Sullivan, along with our devoted volunteer, Laura Jones, for hosting our beautiful pre-show event. Your hard work, creativity truly set the tone for tonight's celebration, and we appreciate you more than words can describe. And everyone who bought a raffle ticket this year, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Your support means so much. Each ticket purchased helps strengthen our mission and allows us to provide meaningful opportunities, education, and community for the youth we serve. We are sincerely grateful. At this time, I would love to invite up one of our wonderful raffle committee members and cherished volunteers, Amy Wummel, to lead us in prayer.
Heavenly Father, we gather with grateful hearts to lift up Flight Club 502, this remarkable organization that opens the skies to young people, giving them the chance to pursue their dreams regardless of their ability to pay. We thank you for the vision, compassion, and dedication that make this mission possible. We offer our sincere gratitude for the generous donors and raffle ticket purchasers who are helping dreams take flight and launching the next generation of aviators. May they be blessed for their willingness to invest in these students' futures. Lord, we also give thanks for the many volunteers, mentors, instructors, and supporters who devote countless hours to teaching, guiding, and inspiring. This year, we want to especially recognize the UPS pilots and community members who share their expertise and passion so freely. Their service lifts up others in ways that reach far beyond the cockpit. We hold in our prayers all those affected by the accidents as they navigate the tragic loss of friends and loved ones. Bring them comfort, strength, and peace. May the memory of those who have gone before us remind us to cherish each day and strive for lives of purpose and service. As we look to the future, we ask your blessing over the students, volunteers, and supporters of Flight Club 502. May they continue to soar with courage and kindness, and may they be blessed with fair winds and blue skies. Amen.
Thank you, Amy, so much for your beautiful words and heartfelt words. Next, I would like to invite up our youth officers, William Jones and the rest, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So all of the youth officers.
We would like to invite everyone to stand and take off their caps and join us in the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you guys, and thank you to our youth officers who are devoted with their pride and leadership and enthusiasm that they bring to Flight Club 502. But right now, it is the moment that everyone has been waiting for. It's officially time to draw for the plane. So if I could bring up William and Alice, our youth officers, our communications officers. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we're going to be drawing for the first place prize first, which is a Cherokee 180 with a 180 HP engine or $100,000 cash. But let's get a drum roll, please. Okay, our first place winner. Wait, no. So good. Nicholas, I'm sorry if I butcher this, DeBonis. Nicholas DeBonis, 101-926-222-56081. So that again is Nicholas DeBonis for our first place prize winner. Woo! Yeah. Okay. Well, it doesn't end there. We've got a couple other prizes. So our second place prize, which is $5,000 towards aviation expenses of your choice. And let's see who the next winner is for our second place. Okay. The winner is Annette Wagner-Knott. Annette Wagner-Knott at 101-926-223-10903. Congratulations on being our second place winner. Okay. Now we got third place, and it is for two Bose A30 aviation headsets, just over two of those, and let's see who our winner is. Okay, our last one, previous winner, Sterling Bonds. Sterling Bonds is again, yeah, no, Sterling Bonds won. 101-926-224-21511. Congratulations, Sterling. Well, congratulations to all our winners. We will be contacting each of you shortly via phone call and email, and just congratulations. But just a few things before we leave off. Before we close out our last drawing of 2025, there's some truly, truly extraordinary people that I would like to recognize. First is Sasha Clapp, our raffle chair. Although he could not be here tonight, he's been absolutely instrumental in this raffle and in our past raffles. He works tirelessly behind the scenes for our students, instructors, and the entire Flight Club 502 family, and we're so deeply grateful for his dedication and his heart. So if we could give a round of applause for Sasha. I got a couple more, so 1 second. So next up, to our instructors, thank you for sharing your knowledge, your passion, and your time. Thank you for mentoring our youth, guiding them, encouraging them, and investing in them in their aviation journeys. Your commitment, makes a lasting impact. So thank you to our instructors. Next up, I would like to thank my mentor, our founding volunteer, and the heartbeat and spirit of Flight Club 502, Laura Benson-Jones. Laura, myself and this entire organization are so incredibly grateful for you. Thank you for your leadership, your wisdom, your vision, and the ways you continue to serve. We love you and we appreciate you more than words can describe. Now lastly, to our raffle supporters. Sorry, I know this is longer than we all thought. Flight Club 502 exists because people like you believe in our mission. A mission to support, uplift, and empower youth through aviation, education, leadership, and community. Every ticket purchased, every volunteer hour given, and every moment of support helps create opportunities that truly make a difference. Thank you for believing in our mission, thank you for believing in us, and thank you for helping dreams take flight. We're done.